welcome to episode 2 of the Bold Business Breakdown. I'm your host, Rebecca Nordquist.
And I'm also your host, Sebastian Sanchez.
Sebastian, how are you today?
I'm doing good, Rebecca. It's once again Friday.
Yes, thank God.
Yes.
In case you missed us last week, just to give a little brief background on us, I am a marketing student, so is Sebastian, here at NMSU, and we work at the FinTech Labs powered by Nusenda. We also changed up our little studio, so in case you missed us last week again, it was a little different, but here's a new one for us.
So today's episode, it's very fun. It's actually just going to be me and Rebecca, your two hosts. We're just going to be doing a little reflection on what happened on the last episode, and we're also going to be providing 5 financial tips.
Yeah, we're going to be providing 5 financial tips about how you can kind of be smarter with your financials right now. But we did notice that there was a few questions on our comment section about our last video. So one of them was, should we invest in the stock market? So the short answer is yes.
Yeah, so the short answer is yes, like Rebecca said. But just to go more into detail, either way, it's a risk if you invest or not. If you don't invest, sure, that money is safe with you, but inflation might affect your purchasing power, and you can miss on opportunities of getting a return instead of just letting that money sit there. Now, it's better to start young as possible because we're much more risk tolerant and we can recover from these financial situations quicker.
Yes, and to also add on that, we will be talking a little bit more later in the episode about long-term investing and why it's so important to start your long-term investing as young as you possibly can. So stay tuned for that. But regardless, the stock market is a patient game.
Yes.
It's a difficult answer because it takes a lot of research, and it's worth talking to somebody who maybe is a financial professional that can help you assist in what to invest in and stuff like that. But long story short, it really is more of something that, like, either way there is that risk involved. So it might be something to look into just because you can sit there and not invest that and possibly get no return at all. Or you can have the risk of investing and maybe investing into something that might be a little scary.
So I mean, for me personally, investing is always is it if I should do it or if I shouldn't do it, because I can keep my money for myself, right, and it won't go anywhere, and I'll feel comfortable knowing I have the money, it's my responsibility. But then it's a lot of people nowadays, especially our younger crowd, we're looking for other ways to use our money. We might look into investing into the stock market or crypto or the different aspects of investing. So it's
worth looking into. And obviously, don't go and invest your emergency fund or your rent or, invest the money that you have available that is not going to put you in such a bad financial situation.
Yes.
Like, we're not going to say go and invest your emergency fund. Be smart about it. But yes, it is something that, the short answer is yes. I think that everybody should look into investing just because you could possibly get a higher return.
Investing opportunities.
Yes.
Just to add on to that, one last thing. One thing I always go by is always invest what you're willing to risk. Everyone has a certain amount of money, but always invest something that you wouldn't mind losing. It's always good to start small. If you lose it, you'll be like, oh, yeah, that's fine. I only lost $20, $30, but that's small. That's a small margin of money you lose compared to some people who might be like, oh, I'm going full into it, and then they lose a larger amount, which can leave some people in some bad situations.
Yes. So definitely look into it more, but the short answer is yes, you should invest. But yes, to get started on our episode, we are going to again look into the 5 financial tips that we recommend, along with giving a brief reflection on last episode, and we're going to also play a little game later on.
Yes.
So,
and Becca, actually, before we get started, before we move on, we actually had one more question.
Yes.
But this is kind of outside of the realm of what we talk about. But someone actually had a question. where can I find the full podcast? You know, and we like to post our full podcast episodes on YouTube, our Instagram and our LinkedIn. Those are typically little snippets of our little episode, the good little portions. You know, like our first episode, we had Becca and Carlos talking about one of the things, but that's what we do to kind of a little appetizer for the main episode.
Yes.
Which you can find those on YouTube, and we'll also leave the link down below as well. Look out for our Instagram and our LinkedIn. We leave the link to the full episode.
Yeah.
And
the YouTube channel, just for right now, we will link it again below, but it is the FinTech YouTube channel.
Yes.
So to go find us on the FinTech Lab on YouTube.
We need to get like a FinTech Lab kind of poster in the back, so people know. Yeah.
But yeah, thank you guys for watching the last episode. But let's take this time again to be bold and shape our future.
As previously discussed in our last episode, being financially mindful is very important in today's world.
Absolutely, Sebastian. And that's where our friends at Nusenda Credit Union come in. They're not a typical bank. They make your financial resources more accessible for their members, and they strive to support their New Mexico communities.
Nusenda cares so much about their members. It's not only about the financials and the transactions. It's more. It's about building the community and building relationships.
Yes, and because of that, they make the financial goals more personalized, which better helps individuals reach their goals, whether it's buying a home, starting a business, or saving for that dream vacation.
So if you're looking to join a new family that's more than just a typical bank, Nusenda Credit Union always has your back.
For more information on how you can start banking with Nusenda, we will link the information below, but that's going to be www.nusenda.org. But for now, let's dive into our episode.
Yes. So Becca, how are you doing on today's Friday?
I'm doing great. You know, midterms are finally over.
Tell me about it.
Yeah, it took me a while. I finally got my last one done this week, but
that's awesome.
Yeah, but nonetheless, you know, we wish here at FinTech for everybody going to school right now that your midterms are doing
prosperous.
Yeah, they're going good, and to hang in there because we're halfway through, and
we're almost there.
We're almost there. Yeah,
it's going by really fast.
Yes, it is. It is. Even though there's a lot of stress right now. Yes.
Yes. Yeah. But so on today's episode, we're gonna talk about a little bit of the reflection on last episode.
Yes.
Yeah.
Some things that we took away.
Yes.
One of the things that I took away from Carlos being here, which I'm so grateful that he came on because he is a teacher. He is a professor on the NMSU campus, a personal finance teacher. And I think I forget sometimes how much I should be present and at the time of talking about things. And I know I really take education very, very seriously.
Yes, as you should.
And it was hard for me, like, in the past to want to sit there and learn something. But as I've gotten to college, you know, I come across all these really extraordinary professors and speakers that really are experts on what they do. And I think when we talked about going to class with a sense of curiosity and staying present and aware, and I think that that's something that sometimes when midterms come around and it's really stressful, we start to kind of stray away from that. And so I'm really lucky to have all these professors, and really lucky for my education. And I think that it was a good reminder in that episode to slip that in there to remain present and learn from these people.
It's always good to be reminded of where we're going, what we're working for, you know. I guess going along with that, on last week's episode, Carlos is a really good person. For me, he's like a mentor in the financial field. Me and Becca, we're both marketing majors, but being in the realm of business, we have to learn other aspects, you know, accounting, finance, and management. I think Carlos, for us personally, has been a really good mentor in terms of the finance, along with other professors as well. There's so much good professors who I always have a joy of just seeing around every day. But one thing Carlos really talked about, and it really sticks to me, especially being a young person, is just knowing where our money is going. You know, we're young, we get money sometimes, we get a good paycheck, and sometimes we're just like, oh my gosh, like, let's go on a shopping spree.
Yes.
But then we gotta like take a step back sometimes and be like, should I buy this? Is this right for me right now?
Yeah.
You know, I think us as young people, we're in the area of discovering ourselves, and one way of doing that is just buying things that can satisfy our curiosities, you know.
I have that problem too. I
Yeah.
mean, I go and I get a check, and I don't know where some of that money goes, you know, and and that's, I mean, we'll talk about it more later in our
Yes.
5 financial tips, but yes, that was a really good thing that he touched base on, and I highly agree. Yeah.
Yeah.
So for sure.
No, yeah, of course. Like, for example, well, like what Carlos was talking about. He was talking about people find themselves in a situation, or like, is this the right moment? I should get like a automobile loan.
Mm-hmm.
You know, should I get the car right now? Should I wait? You know.
Yeah.
For me personally, I guess on a smaller scale, there's cases where I'm like, these are some really new Doc Martens I want to buy.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, they would look so nice on me, but I had to hold myself back, you know, build myself, because I don't want to buy something.
Mm-hmm.
You know that feeling when you buy something and you're like, oh, my credit limit is I'm getting closer to my credit limit, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I like to buy something and feel nice, not like even more worried. So
Yeah.
just to recap that, just knowing where our money goes, or
Mm-hmm.
when's the right time to buy something, is something that Carlos really talked about, that speaks to me.
And honestly, that topic that you brought up,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that is going to be like based off of like 2 things that we're going to be talking about. So yeah, with that, I think it's a good time to start diving in to our 5 financial tips.
Let's go into our 5 tips.
First, to start off though, here's a little disclaimer. These tips are still something that each and every one of you should do your own research on. Maybe, you know, talk to a professional about them. These are just kind of a baseline of like where to start.
Yes. They've helped us.
Yes.
They might not help you, but it's always good to do research that best fits what you have.
Your needs. Yes.
Your needs.
And so yeah, just we're going to do like a baseline, kind of briefly go over them. But yes, definitely when it comes to your financials, of course, be smart, talk to somebody that knows what they're talking about, and just see what works for you. So first off, tip number 1 is to build a budget sheet. So going based off of what we were saying, a lot of the times, yes, we get our first check and we're like, oh my gosh, like I want to go get my Doc Martens, or, you know, I want to go get a car, or like, especially when you get like a high paying job eventually, you know, like
especially newly graduated students.
Yes.
So
Yep.
Yes. That first paycheck of that real job. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. You want to go get a car, which we will talk about again, but to first start off that budget sheet, build a budget sheet. There's a lot of like resources out there for that. If you take the personal finance course with Carlos as well, or, you know, Paula Fox, she used to teach the class as well.
Various professors, yes.
They both, the very first thing you're going to do is build a budget sheet. So
build that budget sheet.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so yeah, take the class if you want to very like, we're not going to provide that for you here on this episode because you do need to take the class, but basically it does break down all of your money for you. So you know where to delegate every bit of money that you're getting should be delegated somewhere. So you obviously are going to pay your rent, you're going to pay the things that you need, put towards your emergency fund, all of that. And then you might see like, hey, okay, I have like $300 left or $100 left or whatever it is. That money even itself should be delegated somewhere in your budget sheet, whether that's for your emergency fund or your savings, your retirement savings, for groceries.
Stuff
Yeah.
like that,
But like the money that's left over after paying all of your dues and all that stuff, that should even be invested, like going towards investments, savings, whatever. So when the budget sheet is good because it really shows you where all of that money is going. And it's a very easy thing to just start doing. You know, there's nothing that's gonna really get you into trouble with just doing a budget sheet, you know, because you're just kind of getting an idea of like, okay, what money do I have?
Yeah.
What can I do with this money? You know, this is the money that I either have for myself or like I should be saving it, you know? So to have that idea, a budget sheet is I think a very good spot to start.
Okay.
Yeah.
So just to recap, build a budget sheet is our first tip.
That's our first tip.
For our second tip, get a credit card. You know, getting a credit card might be kind of scary for some people.
Yeah.
It's kind of like your first time driving. You know,
Mm-hmm.
you're capable of so much, but you got to learn how to use it, how to properly use it.
Mm-hmm.
Getting a credit card is something that we recommend for things in your future. It's
Mm-hmm.
building credit card is something that it cures over time, and as time goes by, the numbers on the credit card, like your
Mm-hmm.
credit score, really pays off.
Yeah.
You know, companies like to see a good credit score.
Mm-hmm.
It's a form of trust that they can give to you. Like, for example, you want to take out a loan for a house. Having a good credit score really helps that, because it shows that you use it and that you paid off with
Mm-hmm.
time, and that you're really responsible with it.
Yeah.
Of course, you get a credit card and you have a credit limit of, say, $2,000, for example, maybe on a student credit card.
Yeah.
Don't go use those $2,000, you know.
Yeah, of course.
You have to, you get a credit limit of $2,000, but you have $300 in your bank account maybe.
Mm-hmm.
Only use like 250.
Yeah. It's like an indicator of how responsible you are with that $2,000.
Yes.
Yes, don't go spend two
2,000
grand.
right off the bat. No.
Don't spend something that you can't pay off,
Mm-hmm.
which,
No,
yeah.
Don't use what you don't have
Mhm.
physically, because credit
Yes.
card, the way I like to think of it is, credit card is money that's there, but you don't physically have it. Well, what you physically have is your debit card or your physical money.
Mhm.
So don't use more than that, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, always getting a credit
Yeah.
card is super important. Me personally, when I first got one, I was a little scared
Mm.
because I was always told, oh, you get a credit card and you dig yourself into debt. No, it's if you know how to use it, it actually helps you more than it
Yeah.
doesn't help you.
Just think about it like that money it's the money that I would have
Mhm,
already.
mhm.
So like if you don't have the $2,000 to spend, don't
Yes.
go and spend the $2,000.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously if like later in life you maybe have that $2,000 to spend and you can pay it off,
Yeah.
pay it off. But
oh yeah.
also as well, you know, it's important to do your research on the type of credit card that
Yes.
you're getting. Look into
Student credit cards, you know,
mhm.
credit cards that come with annual fee.
No annual fee,
No
yeah.
annual fees.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. No.
Um,
I mean, obviously, later in life, if you want to maybe get a credit card and you have the money to pay an annual fee to get that really luxury stuff, all the little goodies and the points and
the knickknacks. And
Yeah.
all that. Yes.
yeah, I mean, yes, those things seem very, very enticing, but don't do that for your first credit card. You know, one without an annual fee, one that is just a starting one to kind of start building your credit, and then later in life, obviously consider if one with a fee where you get all that nice stuff, the bougie lifestyle.
Yeah.
You know,
You always got to start from somewhere. You
Yeah.
start off simple. You get a credit card for the credit card. You know. You know.
But
So-
start building your credit
Oh,
either
yes.
way,
That's
because
the main part.
you don't want to like start building your credit late. I mean, if you are later in life, no shame at all. It's never too late to start. But it's good to start as young as you
As
can.
young as you can.
Yeah.
And that's why there's a lot of options for student credit cards.
Mm-hmm.
You go into college, you're on your own financially, get a student credit card, see where that takes you, and hopefully it's a good investment, I would say.
I agree.
So for our third tip, we'll just go back. Our second tip, to sum it up, get a credit card.
But do your research.
Do your research. Yes, please do your research.
Yes.
So for our third tip, this one goes with the last tip, but try your absolute hardest to pay off the debt that you already have. I'm
Yeah.
sorry. So going back, you get a credit card, you have debt. You want to pay that off before your billing cycle, because that's how you build your credit score.
Mm-hmm.
There's different rules on when you should pay, or there's people who might offer you different advice, but it's always the baseline. Just pay it off.
Mm-hmm.
Don't dig yourself more into debt with money that you don't have. Like going back to our last tip. Yeah.
Exactly, because I mean, once you get into that debt, there is interest that, you know, you're going to be paying a lot more than what it actually was because of the interest.
Yes.
But it is easier said than done. Absolutely. I mean, once you get into debt, it's not like, oh, here you go, just go pay it off. It's just a simple little thing. This is just a tip because, you know, as much as you can, try your hardest to not get into debt and to just be smart about and aware of the debt, and try and pay it off. And if you can, pay it off in full.
Yes.
Don't let it sit there and collect interest, because that just
bring it to zero. In the first place, it feels good to just start with a clean slate, and you're like, okay, I got no more debts. I can just I'll go buy groceries, rack up maybe $50 on my credit card. I have $50 in my debit card. Good, I can pay it off. No worries there. So that's our third tip, is to absolutely try your best to pay off any debts you have.
Yes.
Hey,
so sorry.
There's a little cut in our recording. There's a little cut.
Yeah.
We had a little technical issues. Our last camera died.
Yeah.
So now we know for our next episode, keep it charged, fully charged, and yeah. Luckily we had this one as our backup camera.
Yes.
So
if the quality changed a little bit, don't mind it.
It's the content that matters.
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
But where we left off was tip number 4. So tip number 4 is to start on your retirement savings as soon as you can. This is another tip that maybe you would want to look into, do your research, check if it works for you, talk to somebody professional. But one recommendation that I've gotten is on retirement savings is a Roth IRA. These ones are specifically one that I'm just going to talk about today, just because these ones tax, or you're that money that you're putting into your Roth IRA is already taxed, because you're taking that money that from your check and putting it in.
So it's all mine when I take it out.
Yep. So when you go and take out your money when you retire, unless you take it out before you're set to retire. So let's say you take it out at 40 when you're supposed to retire at 65, you might be taxed on it. But if you leave it in there like you're supposed to, which it is set for you to retire, that money is already taxed. So when you go to take it out again, it's your money. Another thing about Roth IRAs is that it's a mutual fund. So any retirement savings should specifically, if you're just putting that money in and you're doing it for your retirement or whatever, it's good to look at with a Roth IRA. You can set it up where it's investing in an S&P 500, in the S&P 500, which is a basically the stock market. So
As a whole, yes.
So it puts it in a basket of shares, different ones, but investing in things like the S&P 500, it's safer. It's on the safer side. So usually these are going to be giving you a return most of the time. It's going to give you a return by the time you retire. So setting up your Roth IRA is one that I've just heard. There's other ones. Do your research again. But just in general, setting yourself up to retire while you're young is important, because of the time value of money and compound interest. So basically, when you start out very young, that money is compounding for longer. That interest is compounding on itself,
adding up
over time. So if you're doing it for a longer period of time, you're going to have a higher return. So if I put it in at 20 versus 30, which no shame on investing at 30 or whatever.
You can invest whenever you can.
Yes. So, but investing while you're younger you're going to have a higher return, because you have more
years. Yes, you have more years of return. And like Rebecca was saying, good to start early.
Yes. It's best to start as young as you can, as soon as you can. But either way, just setting yourself up for retirement it's a really important thing. And at least that money's going somewhere, and you know that it's going towards your future. And with our first question earlier, it's do I invest, or should I invest?
Should you invest? Yeah.
Investing is important, but also specifically investing for your retirement it's important, because you want to set yourself up for that you're investing towards something in your future.
Investing for yourself, for the betterment of your later years, for the betterment of yourself, not only financially, but for what you're capable of doing when you reach the time of retirement.
Yeah. So that's a tip that I had to throw in there, just because if you don't know where to put that extra money that you have at the end of your budget sheet, and you're like, well, I already bought my Doc Martens, or I already bought my shampoo that costs $40, or my Chick-fil-A for the week. You have that extra money that, I could be like, okay, I'll just throw it into a Roth, or I'll throw it into a 401k, or, a 401k is different. That's another one to do research on, but just in general, I'm going to put it towards something. So this is something to look into for sure.
And also just one last thing to add on to that. I know trying to kind of investing into Roth IRA, you might be thinking oh, but I could be using that money in a different way right now.
Mm-hmm.
But after a while, you don't realize that money is kind of compounding into your account, and you end up forming your life around it. And
Mm-hmm.
when you least expect it, by the time you reach the time to take out the money, you're like, oh my gosh, I forgot
Yeah.
about this money. And who knows how much you're able to have by the time
Yeah.
you take it out.
And it's instead of just like putting money into your savings account, like a savings account is great, you know,
Yes.
of course, to have an emergency fund.
Mm-hmm.
But for specifically for retirement, you might have more
Mm-hmm.
because you invested, because you had that interest acquired in it, and it's making money on top of your money.
Yeah.
Like it's growing.
Yes.
So it's something to definitely consider when you're thinking of investing, because it's different than just saving. It's
Yes.
different than just saving, for sure.
Yeah.
So, and then, that was our tip number 4. And our tip number 5 goes back to what we were talking about, where Sebastian,
Very important.
Yes.
Very important. Yes.
it was what we were talking about at the beginning, what we took away from Carlos's episode, and one that we cannot stress enough, and what we should definitely put in this episode is, don't go and buy things that are unnecessary.
Yeah.
And,
Can't stress that enough.
yes, it's important. I mean, for instance, a lot of people go and buy a brand new expensive car that maybe they have this really high payment on that they really didn't need to go and buy, when they could have bought a car that was pretty decent, that's safe, that
It
gets
still
you
gets you
around.
from point A to point B,
Mhm,
But
at a decent
because
price.
because of our wants and the things we want, we're like, I want that one specifically. Then
Yeah.
of course that gets to us, and that's where the whole situation comes, where we buy things that aren't really necessary, or they might be necessary, but we kind of go the extra mile, and buy something that's way more expensive.
Yeah.
When this other thing does the same thing,
Exactly. Yeah. And I mean, I'm not going to say go and buy a house, but that's just an example of like maybe putting that into an asset of some sort. Like a house it's appreciating in value because, we're putting money into that. That's not always the case. You got to do your research on the house, the location, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But, just be mindful of that I could be putting that money, taking it and putting it into something that adds value to my life, that could later on I could turn around and get liquidity, and it's an asset.
Yes.
So just be mindful of that, and maybe think like even that money that you're putting towards Starbucks.
Yes.
Or towards Chick-fil-A.
It takes a level of sacrifice, you personally, mentally, to be able to hold yourself from doing these things, because I know we get in the habit, and a lot of these things are typically the quick way out. Why do I have to make myself food if I could just go to the restaurant, boom, buy myself a chicken sandwich? It builds up over time, it compounds over time, and it doesn't benefit you.
Yeah. And it's easier said than done.
Yes,
And it's not something that I'm not immune to. I go and buy Starbucks and Chick-fil-A, and
Me too. Yeah.
It's hard. Or like I want those Doc Martens, or
That's what I'm saying. I want those Doc Martens too. They were looking so nice, but let me hold myself back. You know?
Yeah. It's something that, just with this tip, it's something that we have to say because it's the truth. Just be mindful of where that money is going. That Starbucks could be a share that I invest in, or that Chick-fil-A could be going towards my emergency fund.
Yes,
or
it could just go into your Roth IRA without you realizing it, and that's money for later on.
Yeah, exactly. Like just things to consider. So these are the 5 tips. Some of them, you can start on today, like not buying like unnecessary things and starting a budget sheet. Things like a credit card.
Apply for a credit card online.
Yeah, those ones, they're something that we should recommend because, people need to start building their credit, saving for retirement. But those things, might require a little bit of research.
Yes.
And
they've helped me. They might not be for everyone, but if they've helped me, I definitely want other people to know that, that resource. Yes.
And if some people like don't have access, I mean, we're in the business field and we have access to finance and, taking that kind of class and marketing and learning these things. And that's something that we want to share on the podcast, that, these are things that sometimes seem like a little out of reach, even just something as simple as like, where do I even start on a budget sheet? look into it. Just start budgeting like literally everything that you can think of that you could possibly spend money on. Groceries, bills, an emergency fund, all these things that every little thing down to the nearest dollar of like
down to that penny. No, maybe down to the dollar.
Like budget all of those things. And you'll see that maybe you have more money left over than you realize for things that you could maybe think about, like, okay, instead of just going and having no idea and just spending them on whatever, like I'm going to take that money and I'm going to be putting it towards something that
resourceful. Yeah.
So
those are our 5 tips. Just to give a quick recap. So our first tip is build a budget. Our second tip is to get a credit card, get started on a credit card, do research on which credit card best fits you. Tip number 3, Becca.
This one goes the last tip with the credit card, but pay off your debts, which is easier said than done.
Yes. Tip number 4, try to get started on your retirement plan as soon as you can.
And then tip number 5 is don't go and buy unnecessary things.
I can't stress that enough.
And then I know we said this on the last podcast, which or on the last episode, that we do a game every show, which was our only episode. But we do a game. We're going to try and do a game on every single episode.
Try to keep it fun in here. Try to keep it fun and relaxed.
Yeah. So this game is called Breakman Hang.
Break
it down. Hang.
Breakman, break down. I don't know. Break down, hangman.
Break down, hangman. Yes.
So we're still getting used to our names around here. So the way it works is it's just hangman, but we use topics of finance, words of finance or fintech, things that we've learned, words that we've learned in today's episode as well. So I don't know if you want to go first or I can go first. I'll go first. I don't mind.
Okay.
I'm trying to think of a word though. I think I'm gonna keep it simple. Let me grab this marker right here. Okay, Deborah. Okay. Okay, so here is my word. I don't know if the audience could see. Becca, take your guesses on letters, words. I don't know.
E. A?
No, there's no A, unfortunately.
I? T?
Okay.
Credit.
You got so fast. Oh my god. My word's too easy. Maybe because it's so fresh in our mind.
Yeah.
To get a credit card. I'm kidding. I'm not. That takes research.
Yes. Be smart about getting your credit card. Don't go and spend that money, like we talked about, just on whatever. But
from personal experience, learn to use the money wisely.
Yes.
And know when to use it. Here you go.
All right. Oh, man. This is a hard one.
Oh, no, not 4 letters. That's a big word. Oh my gosh. I feel like I might have an idea. I feel like I might know what it is.
Oh, wait.
Okay.
Let me think.
Here at FinTech Lab, we focus on our finances, not our
I was right before.
spelling. I'm kidding.
I was right before. I shouldn't second guess myself.
Oh, no, you're fine.
Okay.
I'm going to go with I. I feel like I know what the word is. T? Oh, my gosh. Oh. No, investment?
Yeah.
Yeah. I knew it.
Wow, you didn't even get one wrong.
I don't know what. I think I just the amount of spaces, and I was like, invest.
That's a long word.
Investment.
Okay, investment.
I got that. Usually I'm not the best at hangman, and I end up like embarrassing myself, and I don't know. Yeah.
Should we play one more round, or?
You want to? We can play one more round.
Yeah.
How much time do we have?
We have a little bit of time.
We got a little bit of time. All right. Here, let me think. This one might be I have to think of one quick. Let me look at our script. Okay. Okay. I'm sorry. Okay. Ooh, it's a little crooked.
E.
E.
T.
No T.
C.
C. No C.
Dang. L.
No L.
Oh my gosh. A.
Ooh. A.
B.
B. No.
I.
No I.
O.
Wait, I'm sorry. Oh, no O.
Give me a hint.
Green.
Green.
Power. I would say power.
Can you give me a letter?
Okay. A letter? I'll give you the first letter.
Nusenda.
Yeah. Nusenda. That's really bad. No, let me fix that. I don't want.
Don't want to misrepresent.
I don't want to misrepresent Nusenda Credit Union. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Is that good?
I think that we're good. Yeah, we're good.
Let's do that. Okay.
We hope you guys enjoyed today's episode. We'll have more games. We won't just do our breakdown Heyman. We'll have other fun games as well.
And we hope that this gave you guys some insight or helped guide you a little bit. These are just, again, a baseline.
Yes.
Definitely do more research into each tip.
Always do your research.
Yeah.
Especially in situations where you're having to do with your finance or especially with your life.
Yeah.
In general. Yeah.
Yeah, because this is something that, it's very personal for each person, and it could affect you, but it could affect you really well, or it can affect you sometimes really poorly. So these are just things to kind of go around that, and just to be smarter about it, and think twice about your finances.
Think smart, be bold.
Yes, and shape your future.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, hey, fancy seeing you here. Hope you make it to our next episode.